Hey, we're live. Oh my goodness gracious me! It's quite an interesting concept. The Facebook Live event, journey, experience, relationship. Because the thing is, it's you know how you see on radio, you see on TV, you see a guy in a radio studio and he's talking, and who's listening? Who's listening? And I mean, I don't know if anybody's listening here. I think I'm supposed to get a feed when people join. No one's joined. No one's joined. So I'm talking to myself. But then I'm comfortable with that. I'm really comfortable with sort of, perhaps you are too. It's a little bit like a performance of an actor, isn't it? The performance of an actor, say, oh, I love stage. Why? Because you get the instant feedback of the audience, don't you? You understand and you know and you feel for it and you go with that feedback. That's what you'd hope to have happen, isn't it? And of course, if you were to do a self-tape, in a self-tape studio or a studio where they're kind of really, they regularly, are doing self-tapes, they don't get to the end of your tape, and no matter how much you've put your heart and soul into it, they don't get to the end and go, wow, that was fantastic. They don't laugh in the middle of it. They don't applaud at the end of it. Same thing applies when you do an audition, don't you? They go, hey, that was great. Thank you. Fantastic. Next. Do you know what I mean? This is the thinking. You've got to get used to sort of, I'm getting used to it as well. In terms of sort of being able to pitch your work out, and you are the sole judge. You are the sole judge and executioner of that work and how it's going, how it's forming, your feeling for the rhythm of it. That's what you have to do. You have to develop that skill. You have to develop that skill because you're not getting sort of any response. And it's very empty, isn't it, at the end of it? I'm fortunate now people are watching and listening, and now I'm getting a feed, and I'm getting people liking or things like that. G'day, Dave. G'day, Simon. People are joining and sort of coming on board. So now I do have, a little bit of audience response. We're talking today, so we've just clicked over 6 o'clock, so now I can get started. That was all just a ramble, really. The point I wanted to make, when you work as an actor, your passion is fed anytime you perform. I mean, you have your creative soul fed when you were in a cold, drafty workshop in the middle of winter with lots of your peers standing around, and you're just sort of exercising your craft. You're exploring the range of characters, the kind of the qualities in the characters. But if you're in a workshop and you actually do a fantastic performance, if it wasn't recorded, did it ever happen? That's a kind of that's trying to sort of draw in the analogy of a tree falls in the forest and no one sees it. Did it really fall? Same thing applies to your workshop audition, to your rehearsal. I want you to take one thing out of your journey forward as an actor. And it's 2 words, and I wish I was experienced enough on Facebook Live to put it on the screen so that I could really emphasize it. But that is, I want you to think screen. Think screen. Thank you, Lisa Marie. Yes, my hair, I am having a bad hair day. Think screen. Think in terms of the fact that all your performances should be on the screen. That's, that's how workshops have evolved. I was an actor. When I started as an actor, there was no such thing as video. There was no such thing as a fax machine, no such thing as emails. So when I auditioned as an actor, you would turn up to the office, because there were very few casting directors as well. Many times you were being auditioned by the producer. You'd turn up to the producer's office and you'd be given the pages, the sides, and now you'd do a cold read of them across a desk. So therefore, there was no such thing as a screen. And so it's all new. And so therefore, yes, a great many actors are ready to work in terms of just opposite another actor, and that feeds your soul. It does, but it doesn't feed your opportunities. Working as an actor with passion and creativity does not feed your opportunities. It feeds your creative passion. And that's what I want to talk about today. Because let's face it, the key to getting a better role you've got to go through an audition, haven't you? That's the journey I want you to understand. Really, okay, think about this. Realistically, we're at the start of a new year. Realistically, what sort of roles will you be asked to audition for this year? Now, hey, it's pilot season, and so therefore, during pilot season, there's many times that you're being asked to audition. Pardon me, asked to audition for roles, as the lead in a series. Why? Because they're self-taping. They can audition a lot of people. And it's no skin off the casting director's nose to audition another 10, 20, 50, 100, 200, 300. And what would happen if they're seeing 300 and 400 people for a role? The first time it goes through, it'll be going through to the casting assistant, the casting associate, who then would feed their shortlist, their selects onto the casting director, their selects onto the director or the producer or the studio. That's the journey. Because I want you to think in terms of the digital age, the food chain that exists in terms of what you can achieve with a tape. And that's why I want you to think screen. I want you to think about the fact that everything you do will be put on tape. That's the kind of journey. Ooh, I just had a little error message. Am I right? Am I okay? Good. I want you to think about the fact that this, look, this, hang on a second. There we go. Okay. This is my stage, isn't it? Oh, look, I can't get it. It's reversed. It's like I'm doing it in a mirror. Hang on a second. No, not that hand, this hand. See this? This is my stage. This is where I'm performing. It's where you perform. You know how you walk into a studio? You walk into a studio and say, oh, what's the size of the frame? The casting studio? Anybody that asks what the size of the frame is, they still stand on the mark and look at the reader and do just simply that, only that. They stand on the mark and look at the reader. Why did you ask what the frame size was in the first place? If you're not going to use it, if you're not going to use the freedom of the frame. Think screen. All your performances must be captured on screen, must be communicated through a camera, through a screen, be it a computer screen, a handheld, a television screen. One more comment I want you to make. One more comment I want to make is that sort of immediately before I came on, about 4 minutes ago, I Googled what is the average length of a Facebook video. Oh, you guys can all type in. What do you think an average length of a Facebook video is that people watch? The optimum length. Okay, nobody's going to say that's all right. It's 24 to 60 seconds. 24 to 60 seconds. So 60 seconds is too much. People don't watch. And this is what you're doing, isn't it? This is what you're doing. You're recording the audition so that people watch it. You're recording the auditions to communicate it. Remember, I just asked you about the fact that what roles will you be asked for in 2018? Will you be asked to audition for? Think of the size. Yeah. How do you get a bigger role? How do you get a bigger opportunity? You do it with a piece of tape, because that piece of tape is a communication. Look at this. Look at this. I'm sitting in my home office, okay, and I'm talking to you. I'm talking to the world, if you like. That's the opportunity of recording your work on tape. But if you're in a cold, drafty workshop hall, no one's seeing it. But you have the opportunity if you think screen. Okay, the 3 performances that you must master. The 3 audition performances you must master. The first one is film. What I'm going to explore with you today is the differences between the type of performance. And this comes about, I did a major mini-series for Foxtel, so a kind of subscription television mini-series. Had Sam Worthington, I should have refreshed my memory on this. Jessica DeGow. It was called Gallipoli. The point I'm making is actors came in and steadfastly delivered a TV audition for something that actually was more akin to film. It was akin to film. What's the difference? The thing about film is we're looking for you to create a character that we put on screen that cuts through, and we go, we're fascinated. One of the analogies I will use is that TV makes us sit back in our chair. It makes us sit back in our chair and be judgmental, and probably we've got the remote in our hand, haven't we? But a film performance makes us sit forward. Makes us sit forward in the chair and engages with the audience. The audience is engaged with the character. I want to tell you a story about one of our graduates. One of our graduates who's now kind of a series regular. And actually, and you know how when a casting director says to you, a casting director says something to you and it sticks in your mind. So this is years and years and years ago, and he went to a callback. He went to a callback where he was one of 4 people up for the role, and the director said, "Thanks, seen it before." So here he is. And in fact, he mentioned about the fact that he had 11 pages. And then they changed the 11 pages on him the night before the audition. But he was off book. He was off book for the full 11 pages, and maybe that was his mistake. His focus was on the dialogue, was on learning the dialogue, not creating the character. I would suggest do not be off book and start to let the character evolve. Own the character. That's a film audition. That's a film audition. We're looking for your input. We're looking for your imagination. We're looking for what you bring to this character. You must own this character. That's a film audition. You may have seen the kind of the Russell Brand audition for Forgetting Sarah Marshall, where what he does is he's briefed by the director, he chats to the director, and then he starts talking to what I assume is the casting assistant, and he carries on a conversation with the casting assistant and gets the job and gets cast in the job. He delivered individuality. That's what a film audition is about. And you do that by understanding, so audition, this is what we go through in the self-taping school. By the way, and self-taping school starts on Monday. Funny about that. That the structure of the audition is that you take an eye line to the reader, isn't it? And to a certain extent, and actors that are sort of scared to go outside that nexus, that connection, what they do is they steadfastly hang on to that eye line. Whereas what Russell Brand did was he broke that. "Oh, g'day, how are you?" "Yeah, not bad, not bad." This is the kind of territory that you have the opportunity to explore, but you don't have that courage. When I say that, I mean, you try things, you're an actor, but it's always driven by being an actor. It's not driven by your choice of being an individual, and that's what a film performance is. It's about being an individual. That's the thinking. That's because this is a oncer. It's a oncer. When I go to concerts, rock concerts, well, I haven't been to a rock concert for a long time, truth be told. Have you been to sort of see a muso though? And what they do is they actually deliver what's on their record. Oh, their record. Gee, that's aging me. Their CD. Even if I say their CD, that's aging me, isn't it? What they recorded in the studio, they then go and deliver that on stage, don't they? And you think, what am I doing here? What am I doing here? I may as well go at home and listen to better quality sound because I can put headphones on. So, but the person at the concert that delivers something that's different, individual, unexpected, instinctive, spontaneous. All those adjectives I just used, did your drama teacher use those? Instinctive, spontaneous, unexpected, unrehearsed. Interestingly, the actor I spoke of before, who signed as a regular in this TV series, said what he learnt from doing our course was to prepare less. Imagine that. You're going for a role that you really, really want. You think you're really perfect for. I want this role. And you prepare less. Scary thought, isn't it? Really scary thought. I'm betting that's what Russell Brand did. I'm betting that's what all successful screen actors, big screen actors, that's what they do. Let me talk about TV for a second. I had I was working on a project in LA, auditioning, and Damien Lewis from Homeland. Help me, Damien Lewis. Yeah, it is Damien Lewis, isn't it? The point I'm making is he came in and auditioned, and what he did was, he said, "Can I use the space?" And of course, an actor that sort of, he's exercising his craft as an actor. So to a certain extent, you'll let him go there, and that's what he did. He used the full space. I want you to think of this. So right now, I'm still on mic because of the fact that I've got my mic, haven't I? But now suddenly, the relationship between myself and the screen, the relationship between me and the other character in the scene has changed, hasn't it? It changes once more when I turn this, but now that I move in closer, to you, I've changed the relationship yet again, visually and emotionally. Is all of this a bit... I mean, look, as a person that trains actors, I actually go against the grain. I think in terms of sort of, self-taping school next week, I think in terms of the people that sort of do my course and embrace the concepts, embrace the techniques and all that kind of thing, I actually think if I ran a course which said, I want all the people who don't believe in what I say to come on board, that actually sort of come on board, because this is not, I'm not sort of, you're not going to get this elsewhere. You're not, anybody that's done my course knows, thinking, really? Is that what I should, really? Yeah. And where has this knowledge come from? It's come from being in an audition space for 30, well, as a casting director, 35 years, 36, 2018, 36 years, as a casting director, 36 years, but then another sort of 8 or 9 years prior to that as an actor. But then, of course, as I say, when it first started, there was no audition space. It was a producer's office, and you read. So, in fact, your sight reading was sort of like it was the skill you needed. Sight reading, not imagination. So Lisa Marie's just spoken of Jessica Lange, said in American Horror Story she learnt the lines in the makeup chair and just explored on the day. Yeah, that's what happens with film. But I want to explain now, I want to sort of explore what happens in television. Because in television, the script is more locked. Now, especially if you're going for a daytime television role, then it's absolutely locked. Because in multicam, what happens is, and does everybody understand what I mean by multicam? By multicam, what I'm saying is it's like the studio setup where there's 3 cameras and there is a vision mixer in the control booth, and what they do is getting ready for you to say, and she said what? And they push the button because it cuts to a new camera. That's called multicam television. You must be absolutely not just word perfect, syllable perfect, because each time everything that you say pertains to sort of doing something. It's a bit like the kind of the guy, let's go back to stage analogies. It's a bit like the kind of the man who's in the stage manager or the lighting guy who's waiting for you to say exactly the line so he can push the button and change the lighting cue. There are people depending on hearing that line from you because there is a structure to the whole thing, as opposed to a film, which is the actor can just turn up and not make it up. I'm not saying that you ad lib, improvise, paraphrase. I'm not suggesting that. What I'm suggesting is that in film you find a rhythm that is yours. In television you must find a rhythm that belongs to the project. Now think of TV. Think of the TV project. Now, to a certain extent, let me just qualify and say that in terms of film, I believe a lot of the high-end subscription television projects are more like a film. They're more film than television. Television is really kind of, the major networks in America, the free-to-air networks in Australia. That's television. And that has a structure, that has a form. You must obey, you must conform. See, my territory as a casting director is that I've done film. And it comes home to me whenever I do kind of film. It comes home to me when actors have walked in with a TV-style performance because they've taken the script and held it to their creative bosom and delivered a dull audition. Tell me about it. Because let's face it, these days now with self-taping, if I'm seeing 50 people, and I did this just recently on a film, 50 people audition, all self-tapes. The vast majority, next. Because of the fact that they're not applying individuality to it. They're not finding the territory that they own. They're not creating a character that is owned by them and them alone. How do you find that? You get in front of a camera. You think screen. You practice in front of a camera. I would think, and so hang on a second. If you got a big self-test opportunity, what do you do? And probably you'd go, wow, I've got to go to a studio. I've got to go to a studio where the light is great, the sound is great. But what you've done is you've forsaken your freedom, your creative freedom that you own in your own self-tape space. Because the thing is, we're sitting here, I'm a casting director, producers, directors, agents. How many tapes do you think they see in a year? How many tapes do you think they see in a week? If I'm in the middle of a big pilot season, those casting directors, networks in LA, how many tapes are they seeing this week, next week, the week after that? Woo, woo. If I'm seeing all of that, I can draw a conclusion about the kind of character you've created, the kind of territory you're exploring as an actor. Pretty quick. Pretty quick. How long? 10 seconds? Ooh, that long? Yeah. What a the journey I take as a casting director when watching self-tapes is I'll watch 5 or 10 seconds. And if I really, really like you, I'll watch another 5 or 10 seconds. And then I'll probably say, yeah, they can have a callback. Because what am I deciding on your self-tape? I'm deciding, do I want to take the next step with that actor? Do they go on the path? Here I am with those hands again. On the path that goes from you receiving sides to you getting the contract and turning up on set, how many auditions do you do? How many callbacks? The answer is quite a few. And when you deliver your first self-tape, okay, so we're on to the third performance, and that's a self-tape, because a self-tape is different to a film audition. A film audition in the room is different to a TV audition in the room. Because when you do in-the-room auditions, you are guided by a casting director or, shock horror, a casting assistant who knows diddly squat. They're telling you what to do. The point I'm making is when you self-tape, you're the, the cameraman, the star, the editor, the whatever else. It's your journey. It's your creative journey. That's the freedom you have. Let's go back to that cold, drafty workshop hall. Yeah, you're catching pneumonia, but you have freedom, don't you? You have absolute freedom to take that character and take it where you will, and you can experiment. You can take it and explore the territory that you and you alone will own. You can't do that in a film audition in the casting director's room. You can't do that in a television audition in the casting director's room. You can do it in your self-tape space. As I say, if you self-tape in a studio, there's a time limit, there's a structure, and also what you've done is you've put pressure on yourself. Imagine being able to just get in front of camera and try it. So if you had a self-tape, so let's imagine you've just received a self-tape opportunity. So the email comes in, bang, and I believe, well, this is something we'll go through in self-taping school. And a couple of people have been mentioning that I'll see you on Monday for those people who are joining us. The first thing you do is you start thinking about the character, exploring, experimenting. And then having done that, what do? I think most of you, 99.99% of you, not 99.99% who've done the self-taping school, because there's a different journey. As I said, it's a different thinking. What you do is you learn the lines, don't you? Because I think there's a lot of drama teachers out there who say, hey, we can't do anything till you learn the lines. And I say, crap. No, we can do it. Don't learn the lines. So you've received the sides, you've received the character breakdown, and what I believe is you go into your little space that is your self-tape setup, put a couple down. Yeah, you're not off book. You've got the sides in your hands. Put a couple down. Try this, try that. Explore this, explore that. Oh, that's interesting. Because what you're doing is you are experimenting with the rhythms of the scene. You're experimenting with the structure of the relationship in the scene. Whereas when you've learnt the lines, now what you're doing is you're trying to get the delivery to match the character, the delivery to match the relationship. But just do a couple. And you're not keeping these. This is just a trial. This is just an experiment, isn't it? This is just an experiment. This is what I want you to understand. Do you think you think a composer sits at his desk and sort of, and writes it and plays it and sort of comes up with it in one go? Of course not. More importantly, a composer might write the great. Oh, I'm not musically minded, so you'll realize that in a second. So when a composer sits at the keyboard or the guitar and actually composes a riff, a melody line's good, composes a melody line. When they do that, does it lead to a full song, or is it just kind of, that was interesting. Yeah, I'll keep that. And she might look at it again and sort of try it. It's not working. That's okay. I'll put it down. I'll put it on my little recording device and I'll hang on to it for later. It's the same experience you have when you receive your audition sides and you just get in front of a camera. Where did we start this Facebook Live? Think screen. Think screen. And what you put on tape doesn't have to be for posterity, doesn't have to be shared. It's for you. It's an exploration. It's an experimentation. Because this is your stage. This is your new stage. And the more you can get in front of the camera, the more you can experiment, the more you can get in front of a camera without the rules, without the pressure, without the anxiety of going for a role, the more you'll find new territory. You'll find the kind of freedom, creative freedom, in the same way that composer just went with the melody line. Is that right? Help me, someone. Is anybody musical here? Can you help me? That's the thinking I want you to understand, that sort of you have freedom in the self-tape space, not in the casting director's studio. Because the other thing is, if you had the big self-tape to do so, you're going, oh, wow, well, I better take precautions. I better go and book a studio. What you've done is you've recreated your casting director's space, haven't you? Well, that's smart. That's smart. All the freedom in the world to do whatever you want to do. And what do? You conform. Big word, conform. You know all those people that sort of, that did self-test, those 40, 50 people that did self-test for that movie lead? That's what they did. They conformed. They conformed. Hey, that's what we need in the leading female role in our feature film. A conformist. Yeah. That's why Donald Trump got elected, isn't it? That's the territory. That's the thing. You see, the thing is, in a digital age, there's so many opportunities to test actors. There's so many opportunities to see individuals. That's why do those TV shows, I think way back to The Wire, when they cast real people in many roles. When they cast real people in True Detective, yeah. Let me talk about the casting of Romper Stomper. Some of you may or may not have seen Romper Stomper, but it was about a skinhead gang. So it was like American History X, only tougher. But the point is, because there were gang members there that had never been in front of a camera before, because of the fact that they were individuals, because of the fact that the dynamic of the group didn't require a trained person, didn't require an acting technique. It required an instinct and an individuality. By the way, which reminds me, for anybody joining Self-Taping School, I've done a new podcast that's which is the three qualities you need to have to succeed in screen performance. Because let's face it is that, isn't it? Because you as an actor, just give me an audition. Just give me an audition, any audition. No, you have to plot and plan. You have to be proactive. You have to think about your opportunities. You have to think about the territory that you occupy. Not just occupy, but own. You own that space. Let's go back to that cold, drafty workshop hall. When you get your turn, when you stand out there, you go, okay, this is mine. Do you do that though? Do you take that moment? Do you take that time? Do you take that time to own the space? I don't think you do. I sure as hell know you don't do it in the audition space, because what do you do in the audition space? The casting director's audition space? I've seen it hundreds of thousands of times. What you do is you stand on the mark and you're short of breath. You stand on the mark and you take an eyeliner to the reader, sweaty palms. And what's going through your mind? What's that first line? What's that first line? I did a workshop where a girl in the workshop said, "Oh, it's that line on top of page 3." Line on top of page 3. What was the visual reference for the character in the relationship? The page. That's the definition of a conformist. That the sum total of their creative input into the scene is to know what's on the page. Yeah? Let's think of all the successful screen actors that sort of, put the page on a pedestal. There must be a few. Well, there must be one. Don't think so. Don't think so. Indeed, David, the future is now. Well, in fact, the future's still coming. I'm going to go out on a limb now and say, look, in the very, very near future, and it's happening now, isn't it? The first test will be a self-test. The first test will be a self-test. Think of this. Think of them casting a series. Okay? It's pilot season, so therefore, think of them casting a series, and what they're going to do is they're going to draw up a list of names, and there are going to be some really strong names there. People who wouldn't do a self-test. People who may be offer only. Or, in fact, they'll only do an audition with the director. They'll only do the network audition. The point I'm making, therefore, is if casting a role is going to take 6 weeks, for the first 2 weeks, we just look at unknowns. We just look self-tests. Farm all those self-tests in. While those self-tests are coming in, okay, we're checking if huge superior actor X is available, is interested. They'll be on the list. They're already on the short list. But if you're not on that category of actor that gets offered roles, and I'm talking leading roles, I'm talking regular series roles. If you're not on that list, then the only way you're going to earn the right to be there is by a self-test. Yeah? And if you conform, you can see I'm savor the kind of, conform. Don't. You're a creative individual. But if you conform in your self-tape, how long does it take me to go next when I'm getting in 50, 60, 80, 100 pilot season self-tests as the first stage of the casting? How easy is it for me to say no? More importantly, how easy is it for me to say, yeah, let's take them to the next stage, which is another scene or a kind of an audition in the room, or maybe a chemistry test when we put a couple of people together. We're still far away from the network test, the final callback. You'll do about 4 or 5 auditions before you actually get the job. There'll be another audition, or especially if you don't have a body of work. So they'll want to see another audition from you. How quick do we arrive at that decision that, yep, let's try them again? Let's ask them. Let's say, let's go again with them. Shorter than that. I'm only joking. No, it'll be that long. The point I'm making is, yes, as David said, the future is now. The future's actually yesterday, really. The future's yesterday. This is when you should have been being empowered to embrace your own taping. Instead of going to a cold drafty workshop with a bunch of other actors, get together with a group of friends. Once a month, once a week. Get together and spend 4 hours in front of camera, doing scenes, exploring, experimenting. As I said, remember when you get your sides, the first thing you do, you get it, you read it once, you read it twice, and now get in front of a camera. Think screen. Get in front of a camera, fly it, shoot one. See how it works. See how it feels. Because now there's no pressure. It's not like there's a deadline as, I have to deliver this, I have to upload this within the next 30 minutes. No, you can just get in front of a camera and go, And now suddenly things will distract you. Your phone goes off in the middle of it, and instead of, if you were doing the proper thing, you'd have to stop the phone, turn the phone off, start all over again from the start. But now, because you're experimenting, it's like, new bill from Telstra. But suddenly I went off on a tangent. It wasn't so much of a tangent because it's Telstra, and so which is our telecommunications company here in Australia. And we all know what a pack of losers they really are. Does anyone work for Telstra? Change jobs? Okay, back to that journey of you getting the audition and mastering the self-tape. You get in front of a camera straight away. Now you go and do some research, you start thinking about it, you start exploring, you start experimentation. Your technique as an actor, your training as an actor comes into play. It's just not the most important thing. The most important thing is thinking outside the square, is individuality. That's the territory. That's the thinking I want you to employ. That's the journey we take in self-taping school. Self-taping school starts on Monday. It's a 6-week course. And I promise you, you will not be the same by the end of it. And I mean, I think, and I've had people come in, because what we do is we have a Facebook page. We have a Facebook page whereby we have a Facebook page where, and it's just the graduates, it's a private page. You can't go in and have a look, no. It's a private page where we all engage. I've had people say, I'm not on Facebook, what should I do? These are people who've taken the 6-week course on self-taping school and have no digital, few if any digital skills. They can probably answer a phone call, send a text, receive a text. But there's so many more opportunities for an actor. The digital age was built for an actor. So we have a Facebook page and you engage on the Facebook page. We have a Vimeo page where you see exactly what I see. Because what happens is with the graduates, we go onto the Vimeo page and you'll see 3 or 4 or 5 other people doing exactly the same scene. Welcome to my world. Where you sit and see, think of this. Think of this. Compare this to your journey with video at the moment, your experience, your relationship with video at the moment. And that would be very much watching Facebook videos. Imagine if 6 of your friends posted exactly the same video. Whose video is best? Whose video is the one that kind of inspires, intrigues, fascinates you? That's the opportunity with video. No, that's the goal with video. But you don't. That's the goal with video, and what you do is you achieve that by just getting in front of a camera as often as possible. And that's what self-taping school, I was going to say empowers you to do, insists. It's a boot camp. It truly is a video boot camp. Let's face it, if you did anything every day, you'll get better at it, won't you? Oh, personal story. I just had my granddaughter over at Christmas, and so we went to the pool every day, and she just got better and better at swimming. And you can do the same thing with self-taping, but more importantly, you have to do the same thing with self-taping. You have to copy my granddaughter. No, that was a joke. You have to understand that the more you get in front of a camera, the more comfortable you are. You know how maybe you're thinking I seem fairly comfortable here, and obviously, because I've just been in front of a camera, doing these courses, doing this advice, doing this relationship with actors. Yeah, for about 5 years now. I'm comfortable. And I can just, so Facebook Live for me is, well, wow, yeah, let's do that. In fact, I think I actually turn into a pumpkin soon. I think I'm supposed to sort of finish it up soon. I want you to go to the for anybody that's been going, self-taping, not just self-taping, you've been thinking of training, and your training is focused on making you a better actor. Make sure whatever you do, the first thought is screen. Screen. Does it focus on the journey, on the delivery, on the message, on the experience with screen? So that's a relationship of what you see on the screen and what you put on the screen and the person watching it, which we call the decision makers. The decision makers, because they're the people that are making decisions to recall you or not, to give you a self-test in the first place or not. So there's that relationship between what you've put on the screen and the person watching. But more importantly for you as a creative individual, what is the relationship between you and the camera? Because 99.99% of actors come into my room, stand on the mark, look at the reader, deliver the lines. So you have no relationship with the camera whatsoever. None. No relationship with the camera. No relationship with the other character in the scene. Your relationship is entirely the relationship you have with the page. With the page. I call that painting by numbers. because the kind of, everything you're going to do is already decided, isn't it? You don't have to decide what color that number 1 is. It's already decided for you. That's not a creative individual. That's the territory I want you to explore. Go to the website, look at the testimonials, follow the link to the page. But if you have plans to be doing more work, better work, bigger jobs, bigger roles for 2018, get in front of a camera. Get in front of us. Get into self-taping school. That's the journey. I'll go to the website, the Facebook page now, the Audition Technique Facebook page, which this is on. So therefore, you're on the page already. So hey, stay there. I'll be there in a second. But listen, I really enjoyed sort of just getting in front of a camera and exploring and experimenting and having a chat, and from the comments and everything. Great. You have that opportunity. You have that opportunity. Oh, look at it. It's 2018. You have that opportunity. You had the opportunity a little while ago too. Don't miss this opportunity. Don't miss this opportunity to engage and embrace thinking screen. Talk to you soon.